Welcome to Andrea Lake 101, the making of a billionaire. All right, guys, this is a Sticker Wars episode, and so much is going on. This is going to be a fast one, I think. So the story continues. You guys, I shared with you that we closed a Fortune 100 client. How the fuck do we do that? That is a really good question. This week, we are talking all about white glove customer service, all about rolling out all of our new product categories, all about redesigning and redecorating the offices, about hiring in an intern. Oh, that's going to be so fun. And everything else, Sticker Junkie. So, this week at Sticker Junkie was crazy. We do have white glove customer service at Sticker Junkie. What even does that mean? Well, do you know what? It's the way that we're competing with companies that are way bigger than us. So many companies, even big, huge companies, are outsourcing their customer service to AI. I will continue to be an outspoken critic of that, as evidenced by something that happened just yesterday and has happened twice in the last 2 weeks to me. So, one of our huge clients, one of our clients, it's going to be one of our biggest clients that we just closed. This is a Fortune 100 company. It's a large company. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. And they reached out to us on Wednesday at 12:21 in the afternoon and said, hey, can you get something to us to Los Angeles by tomorrow? Hopefully by tomorrow morning. And it was a really big activation with a new product that we have. And I was like, okay, cool. I looked at Brian and Jenny and was like, okay, do we have enough of this thing on hand, of this actual material for this very specialized item that this corporation wanted? Can we get this done on time? Is there actually even enough time to mock this up, to print it, to send it to the printers, to get it laminated, to get it out the door, to get it cut, to get it packaged properly, and to get it to FedEx by the cutoff time, which was 7 o'clock at night? And the answer is yes, but barely. We need to start right now. Right now. They reached out to us at 12:21. By 1:01, that job was on the presses being printed. So 40 minutes later, 40, it was a team building exercise all of its own. People were laughing. We couldn't believe that we had this client. This is a very well-known brand. These are logos you have seen. And here it is printing out in our offices. And the pride that everyone on my team feels and the excellence, it's making me tear up right now. And the excellence with which everyone on my team conducts themselves when it is go time. We had no time to get this together. It was like, let's run real fast right now, as quick as we can. And Jenny stayed late. Not only did she get this to FedEx with 26 minutes to spare to get this to our clients in Los Angeles by the next morning. Man, she came back and her and Dana laid brand new, beautiful flooring at our Sticker Junkie office. It looks gorgeous. The effect that it has when you walk into our sticker offices with that flooring, it looks gorgeous. Everything about the way the Sticker Junkie offices are, it's so fun. They're highly visual. It looks gorgeous when you walk in the door of our office. And the environment is just so fun. People were cracking jokes. People were laughing. They're high-fiving each other. We could not believe that we got it done on time. This is a big job, incredibly last minute, and we made it. And we made it as a team, which is how we're making everything. The quantity of last minute things that get thrown our way in a business that is scaling, like what does it mean when a business is scaling? It means every year for the next 5 years, we intend to 5x our sales. That's a 500% annual increase. That's nuts. That's crazy. That means that there is always basically more work than we can handle. Now we're coming up to a point where we're about to do more hiring in Sticker Junkie, so we're going to have a little bit of breathing room time-wise, but not really, because 5x as many jobs is a lot. Now, when you're compounding a company like Sticker Junkie and growing 5x the sales, that actually doesn't require 5 times as many employees. That's why we've spent so much of our time front loading and making sure that we have the right people in the right positions and that they know what they're doing. Because then expanding the workload, and hiring on a correct, comfortable amount of employees is possible, right? Because you have people that understand that a tidal wave is coming. And a week and a half ago, we had a true glimpse of what that was going to look like. We had a week where we did our next desired daily total, right? Which is about twice our normal daily average right now, right? And all of a sudden, when you're doing literally twice as much production volume that on a custom product, that is a lot. And Dana, our lead mechanic, and I were having a one-on-one, and she was like, "Oh, I see it now." She said, "It's not that I didn't believe that it was going to happen. It was that I couldn't understand what you meant by it's going to like hockey stick up. Like all of a sudden, the orders are going to be flooding in, the volume is going to be huge." And she said, after that 1 week where we were at sort of our next level of growth, I understand that this can happen really, really fast. And I said, yeah, it really can. And after that week, we sort of had a retraction and had a slower week. And then we're right back up to that level of volume again. And everyone on my team is sort of catching their feet around it and just letting me know, like, hey, do you feel overwhelmed? Do you need more help in your department? We can't hire somebody right now, but we are doing more hiring in about 3 weeks. Like, what do we actually need so that everybody feels properly staffed and comfortable? Because quite frankly, we could use 3 or 4 more people on staff right now, and we can't afford to hire them for probably 3 more weeks. So as you're growing and scaling a company, it is just constant, and I mean constant reassessment of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that is the phase that we're in right now. We have been getting our operations super tight. There's a really great saying by Ram Dass, which is, if you think you have equanimity, if you think you have balance, if you think you have harmony, if you think you have reached a state of enlightenment, go spend a week with your family and tell me how enlightened that you actually are. Sort of basic thread of that philosophy can apply to a whole lot of things, and it can also apply in this way to the organization of a company. If you think you are high and tight, if you think that your operations are in order, if you think that everyone is on the same page, everybody is on the same team, everything is cohesive, and that you can handle scale, do a week of double or almost 2.5 times your average daily total, and then tell me, like, how does it actually go? How in line are things? How high and tight are you? What actually happens to your turnaround time? And we passed that test. We passed that test with flying colors. We passed that test to an astonishing degree. Everybody on my team stepped up. Everybody on my team was performing at a high level. And we, in fact, did get out all of those orders right within our normal turn time of under 4 days. So thank God. It has been wild to watch the pace of growth. So when we get this big opportunity with this big Fortune 500, they call us Wednesday and say, hey, can you get something to us in Los Angeles by tomorrow morning? And we're like, oh my God, what is the last minute that we can get stuff to FedEx? Good question. Good question. That is at 7 o'clock at night. If you get it here to us by 7, then we are going to have it to your people tomorrow. Now, this is a Fortune 100 company that is doing a humongous event in Los Angeles, and they need something special from us. And we get it to FedEx on time. Jenny comes back and lays those beautiful new sticker floors that we put into our lobby, and all is right in the world. Everybody on our team is high-fiving. We are screaming. We are feeling very accomplished. We are so excited. And then FedEx completely drops the ball, totally drops the ball, 1,000,000% drops the ball. I see that we have not yet gotten a notification of delivery. And I'm like, what is happening here? So I look it up at about 2 o'clock because I'm like, sometimes the priority morning stuff is late, like whatever. I looked in the morning, it said it will be there yesterday. And I look in the afternoon and it says that it will get here Friday. So we immediately get on the phone to FedEx. Jenny calls them straight away of like, hey, what the fuck? Why is this not there? What can we do? Can we intercept the package? Can we intercept this and drive this to Los Angeles ourselves? We have one staff member who actually lives in Riverside and commutes to Riverside, California, to our offices in Santee. That is an hour and a half away, friends. And we could have tapped him on the shoulder and said, oh, hey, do you mind driving this to the location in Los Angeles to drop it off just so that we're for sure that it's going to get there in time? But it did not seem necessary. FedEx, they got this. They usually pretty good. Well, FedEx has turned over most of their customer service. You guessed it, to AI. Not a good choice. Not a good choice. Not a good choice for anyone. And it seems like a lot of companies are having an equation of like, how much do we save on human beings versus how much business do we lose because we are failing people because they cannot get a hold of us and have a human being resolve their problems? It seems like that must be the equation within these very large corporations that are switching over customer service to AI. And so, long story short, we could not get a hold of a person through the phone on FedEx. We had another issue a couple weeks ago with FedEx where similarly it could have very easily been resolved if we could get through to an actual person. We did Google it and it looks like it is still like technically possible on the phone to get through to a real person in FedEx, but we absolutely did not find that personally to be the case in either one of those situations. So there was no opportunity for us to like intercept and fix this. Now we're keeping the client posted the whole time, and they are very impressed with our effort. And I was like, I am so sorry. If we had an inkling that our delivery service would have fallen down like this, we truly, truly would just have driven it to you. And she said, that is okay. I have let our team know that this is coming, that they are going to have to actually implement the whole thing that we sent them and lay it down themselves as this massive event is starting. And I'm like, oh my God, it's something for LA Comic Con. And it should arrive to them at like 10:30 in the morning, and the event starts. The VIP entry is at noon. And this is a high and tight Fortune 500. This is a company that is used to getting stuff done on time. But the people on this team are hustlers and they're very scrappy, and I'm sure everything is going to go great. And with us at Sticker Junkie, it's like reconfirming, like, this is why we will never switch our customer service over to AI. I have like an opposite prediction of all of the predictions that I am hearing from different like business podcasts. I don't really listen to other people's business podcasts, but I do hear a lot of nonsensical advice out there. Like, you have to switch your stuff over to AI or you're losing. I'm like, okay, cool, great. Good luck with that. Let's do a case study in 7 years. Let's do that. Let's do that. Of a company that has like really high touch, really personal, very, very good customer service that connects with our customers, that treats our customers like human beings, that you can get a hold of us if something goes on, that if you need a rush, you can actually talk to us. And whoever you speak with can go literally walk back on the production floor and look and see, do we have time to take this extra additional thing in the middle of our already very busy schedule and give you a right answer for that. Because the worst thing you can do is take something like that from a humongous client and fail them. That would be terrible. And then on the other side, if you get an opportunity like that and you bang it out of the park under an impossible circumstance for a fucking mongous company, they're going to remember that. Brian Burling, our operations officer over at Sticker Junkie, was talking at our all hands meeting and just really drilling in and explaining, like, look, a client is never going to forget that kind of effort, especially when this is one of their first orders with us, and especially when it's for a specialty product for a really big event that they're doing. And the way that we created it's very visual and is like a wow moment when you walk in and see what we created for this client. And in business, in the same way that our new client will never forget how hard we come through for them and how well we do with our customer service and how much we take care of them and how much we really care about having them as a client. The way that we got this client as a client was I fell into conversation with someone on their team, and we started talking about one of our competitors. We have a lot of competitors, and they had an activation that actually involved stickers. They had some dinner where there were sticker sheets on the table, and they were going to decorate something with the sticker sheets. And the sticker sheets did not arrive on time for a big dinner for a big Fortune 100 company. And so very quickly, her team had to scramble and do something else, except for everything revolved around those stickers. And guess what? She could not get a hold of a real person to talk to at this very large competitor of ours. And basically, the centerpiece, which is what was supposed to be decorated with stickers, it just was this weird, they didn't know what to do with the period of time. It created a whole issue for them. And nobody at that company even knows that that happened. Why? Because they don't talk to people on the phone at that company. They don't talk to people on the phone at most sticker companies. The person I was speaking with could not get a hold of anyone, not even at a concierge level, not even for one of their largest clients. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's insane. And with our really white glove, very high touch customer service, we are just completely the opposite to that. We get special requests all the time from our large clients. And then we also break out stuff like we do super cool stuff for all of our clients, but like every client that spends over $1,000 a year with us gets something from us at the end of the year that's like a surprise. That's really cool. We're very excited on what we're working on for this year's surprise packages. And then it goes up from there. If a client spends $2,500 a year, we do something more because we have extra budget from what they've spent with us to do something more. If they spend $5,000 a year or $10,000 a year or $20,000 a year or $100,000 a year, or several hundred thousand a year, or in this case, millions a year, then we do different levels of special thank you depending on how much a client spends with us. And that like just used to be normal. My mom, obviously, as I've talked about before, was a computer scientist. My dad was in the Navy. He was the chief of the boat on a submarine. And when my dad retired, for a few years before he passed away, they worked together as real estate agents. And I would see this exactly. You know, somebody had bought a home, they'd done the whole thing. My parents would bring over a beautiful closing gift, a beautiful welcome to your new house gift when they would move in. And then every year they would make these beautiful gift baskets and go deliver it to all of their clients. Why? Because people move more than once. And also, people have friends. And then they tell their friends, like, oh, yeah, shit, man, we bought this house 3 years ago, and Don and Kathy just came over and delivered this beautiful package to us. And it kept them top of mind. And so we do stuff like that for our clients all the time. And quite frankly, last year when we did it, we could not afford to do it, and we did it anyway. And it brought us an insane amount of business when we sent out those Trader Joe's gift boxes. Nobody expected that. People were like, whoa, you have just taught us how we should be treating our clients. This is such a good idea. This is such a surprise. We had people calling up, we had people writing in, like, this was my very first year in business. I can't even believe that I was one of your bigger clients, that I was a big enough client to get a box like this. And it made me cry because it's really isolating and really hard to be an entrepreneur, especially in that first year of business, especially when you're a solopreneur and you are probably still working a regular job and you are just balancing all hats and standing on one foot and juggling in every way you can just to barely get by. So to have another small business that really, really, really appreciates your business and lets you know that and goes the extra mile, there is no price tag that you can put on high touch customer service. There really isn't. So for me, as a child of the 70s and 80s, that's just normal. That's just what everybody does. But as we're seeing very quickly, things are slipping away that used to be normal. And there's a whole pervasive like conversation about how all that stuff isn't all that important and we can outsource things that human beings used to do to AI and etc. And to every single one of my competitors that is doing that and that is thinking of doing that more deeply, I say that's a great idea. You should absolutely do that. Banger idea. 100%. You should outsource 100% of your customer service. You should have it off-site at the very least. Maybe outsource it to another company, maybe outsource this to another country. Just go for it. As someone that runs a company that does custom products, I legit cannot imagine having my customer service anywhere but inside of that company. As a matter of fact, we had such a great customer service rep previously. I mean, she's one of my favorite people that I've ever worked with. If she lived in San Diego, she would be working at Sticker Junkie right now. And we outsourced that during COVID. And she lived in a different state. So she kept doing our customer service because she's so friendly and so wonderful, so communicative with the office. But of course, it creates problems to have somebody that can't just go walk on the floor, see the quality of a thing, fix a product, turn around and talk to the production manager. It's one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made in that company, not having a high touch customer service person right there. I would never do that again, ever, ever. We will never do that again as a company. And just the level of frustration that I had with FedEx on both of those occasions, we are immediately going to stop using FedEx. We're going to use UPS instead. We're going to use a different service. And looks like UPS is going that way too. So we're going to have to try and find a different service provider where they will actually handle the customer service requests of their clients. It's wild to me the way that this is going. The robots are not good enough to handle personal interaction yet, in my opinion. In addition to that, we had several of our Fortune 500 clients that we have been working with this week and pushing forward new ways to integrate with very large companies. And I couldn't be more proud of my team for the work that they're doing. This is all the stuff that I can't talk about because it would give away our competitive trade secrets, but suffice it to say, it's really good. There's a reason that we are winning over huge clients, and we have 3 new big clients that we've been working with in the past month, and we have 4 more on the line right now that we're onboarding after that. And so I can't wait to see how all of it goes and to see where the numbers go. In the office, we have hit this sweet spot of growth, of everybody getting along, of doing tons of client outreach. I am finally just on sales, which has been a couple months that I've been pretty much full-time on sales, but I'm also part-time on finances, part-time on marketing, and part-time on CEO. It's a big job. The job of a CEO is a salesperson at the size of the company that we are at right now. And very, very luckily, Jenny and Brian are there handling the day-to-day and all of the interaction at the office while I am like off doing sales. It's been crazy. We are rolling out our booths program, which we're super excited about. And we're about to land sticker floors on the main site of Sticker Junkie proper so that people can order sticker floors from us for temporary events. This is flooring for like pop-up events. So we have it at our offices in Sticker Junkie, but you know, they're stickers. So you would have to put like an epoxy or something over it to make it permanent. But in our case, we own a sticker company, so we can just relay our floors every so often as they sort of wear. But man, does it look cool. I'm so excited about that part of Sticker Junkie. In addition to that, Brian Burling, our Chief Operations Officer, came to us and said, hey, my daughter's school has this program where they give unpaid interns. And I was like, ha 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 ha, we have so much work to get done. However, of course, if you're doing an unpaid internship, it is our job to set up a curriculum where we actually are just being helpful and teaching these students how to work in a professional environment and letting them shadow different people in different departments. And while we did open it up to her school, it turns out that the only applicant we got actually was his daughter. And so Brian's daughter is going to come in and get a firsthand education on the sticker business. And I'm super excited. She came in for her interview. She did fantastic. It is so fun to be able to be at a point in the company where we can do stuff like that and we can do community outreach. I already talked to the mentor advisor at her school and said, "Oh yeah, after this we are definitely open to taking an additional student after this." Like we actually believe in teaching, the younger generation how a super fun workplace works. And again, when you go into the Sticker Junkie offices, they're fun. They're awesome. And it's visually beautiful when you walk in the door, of course. We also continued something else new at Sticker Junkie this week, which is that we got everyone actually listening to the podcast. So every day at 2:00, the next episode of the podcast plays because a whole lot of my people that work at Sticker Junkie are way younger. And listening to a long format podcast is just not how they receive information. They're on TikTok scrolling. And it's amazing the team cohesion that's coming out of it. Because, of course, we, as the top team, convey all of the messaging to everybody that works at Sticker Junkie through our all hands meetings, which, quite frankly, are pretty fun. However, them hearing how much I care about them, about the company, about getting them on a living wage, about everyone thriving, about building a company that's like a company in the late 70s, where everybody wins when the company wins. That's like a company in the 80s where the employees expect to do really well and get bonused out when the company does really well. We've slipped so far away from that. It used to be back in the day, if you gave your life to a company, if you worked for 40 hours a week at a company for 30 years, you got a pension and a retirement. If you gave your life to a company, they gave you a life, a wonderful life to live. If you worked there for 40 hours a week, that's a really large percentage of our awake hours. There was so much reward and so much benefit to everyone in the company. I believe the number is that it was a 30x up, which means that the CEO, on average, of a company in the 80s made 30 times their lowest employee. Now, I think that is way too much. Let's run the math on that real quick. Minimum wage in the 80s, let's say, was $5 an hour, times 80 is $400,000 a year. So if a minimum wage employee was making $5 an hour, the maximum that the top person at the team would make is $400,000 a year. I do think that that spread is too far. However, whatever, live your life. Today, the spread is 271x. So minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, and the average CEO of a large company is making 271 times more than their lowest paid employee. Now, again, this would not be a problem if the lowest paid employee was making enough money where they could actually just comfortably live, where they could actually comfortably afford a house, where they could actually comfortably afford their bills, where they could actually comfortably afford childcare. Spoiler alert, that is not the case. We are going to cover that very deeply in next week's episode because when I rolled out the living wage and people were like, "Oh, you just taught us that it's expensive to live in California." I'm like, "Yep, that's pretty much was the message." I broke that bad boy down into different segments of the country. So we're going to talk about that on next week's episode and why it's like this and how to fix it, basically. But back to the sticker world. It leads me back to something that I think about a lot, which is the best way to become rich is to make everyone around you rich. And I mean everyone. The weird thing about like this huge disparity between the bottom paid employees and the top paid employees is that when you close that gap, the top paid employees still are doing really well. But you want also for the bottom paid employees to do really well. Like, do you know how much better someone in the shipping department, right, which is our most entry level position, is going to perform when they realize how very, very, very deeply every person in the company cares about them? How we all understand that when you receive a box or get a box from us, that's your first touch point from us. And you can tell when someone cares. You can tell when instead of like shrink wrapping our stickers together, we put them in Ziploc bags. Like Why do we do that? That's more expensive and it's more time consuming. It's because most people don't need to use all 100 stickers at the same time, and they need someplace for their stickers to live while they're handing them out one at a time at a place. There's so many things that we do in Sticker Junkie that just put ourselves in the position of our customer. And I think that that is a less and less frequent experience right now. And so when people do transition over to us, they're like, whoa, your quality is fantastic. And there's a lot of high touch things that we're thinking about with our clients. So that's how we're doing it. And that is how we're scaling. And that is how we're going to maintain a 500% growth level. Now, of course, there's plotting and planning of like, who are we talking to, the size of the companies, and the size of the clients that we need in order to get to where we're going. So we're starting to close the type of clients that are going to help us not just get to our 10 million goal this year, but to get to our goal of 50 million the following year. To get people up to a salary where I want them to be at and have full health care and have a minimum wage where you can actually truly afford to live. Right now, we're targeting a $32 an hour minimum wage in San Diego County, and then it'll go up from there to I think it's like $112. So everybody on my staff will end up making somewhere between $35 and $112 when we get to where we're going. Well, we need to make like $10 million in revenue to get that salary level comfortable and to have payroll be a proper percentage of the company and not be super overspent on payroll, which we are right now. So we are just like plugging away, getting enough clients to get us there. But when we close like several Fortune 500s, which we have in the last month, that makes it very assured because a lot of them, as we're integrating them into our systems and putting together things for them that make it like very easy to buy more product from us, then it assures not just this year's numbers, but next year's numbers and the year after that and the year after that. Once clients come with us, they do not leave us because they do not have a similar experience anywhere else. And so, slowly but surely, the word is getting out and things are increasing around Sticker Junkie. And I can't wait to see what it does in the future. I don't have too much tea this week on our competitors. They're just doing whatever they're doing. And we are heads down and running fast. We can't take a huge market share this year. Us getting to somewhere between 10 and 20 million by next July basically is what we see as our roof of growth. But I would love to be challenged on that. I would love it if we hit that 10 million number by January or February and then do another 2x increase from there and get to 20 million by July. That would be freaking amazing. And with all of the opportunity that we have in front of us right now, that actually is possible. That's why I spent such a long time going after humongous clients to convert them over to us. And now that those deals are closing, it feels like manna from heaven. Am I exhausted? Sometimes I'm truly, truly, truly exhausted. It's 3:08 in the morning right now. I recorded a podcast last night. It was kind of all over the place. It wasn't very good. So I slept for a few hours and then I got up and recorded this. I'm tired. It might not have been the most interesting episode. I hope you like it. Ask me any business question. I'm here recording these still, and I would love to answer it. The truth of the matter is that when you're scaling in the way that we're scaling, shit's hard. There's so many hard moments. When you're scaling really fast, there are so many moments where there's not enough cash. And we've been brushing up against one of those moments lately because we do buy all of our machinery and equipment in cash. Why? Because my credit is still trashed. Why? Because we're overextended in every way. Now, luckily, we have a huge cash infusion that's going to happen in 2 weeks. Thank God. And that's going to get us through. So, like, it's not as stressful as it otherwise would be. But when we had that slow week, very suddenly our sales were down by 3 grand a day for 11 days. That's $33,000 I have to come up with from somewhere. Thank God we've had some very big days since then to sort of compensate for that, but we're not past the stressful part yet. And I feel like that's mirroring the experience that I truly, 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 truly didn't realize that my employees were having and that most employees are having. We pay between $22 and $27 an hour at Sticker Junkie, and that felt really generous to me. I am 51 years old. Minimum wage was like $2.85 when I started working when I was 15 years old. And I remember when it went up to $5 and all of a sudden you were making it again on minimum wage. Well, minimum wage today is $7 an hour, 7.25. Nobody in any county in the United States that I could find can actually make it on minimum wage. And when I ran the cost assessments, $24 an hour is like scraping by in California, in San Diego. And I was like, whoa, we have to immediately get our people up to $32 an hour. What is the minimum amount of revenue that we can make and actually afford to do that, even if we are overspending our payroll? And it really is like 4 or 5 million a year that we need to make to be able to afford to pay people a better wage. Ever since I started running these cost analysis, I'm thinking about nothing but money. I'm like, wow, I need to really, really, really skyrocket this company right now to a new level of baseline comfort so that everybody is comfortable, so that I can comfortably afford to be paying off 50, 60, $70,000 a month of this $2.2 million in debt. And I can comfortably afford to pay my employees $32 an hour, and I can have paid time off for my employees, which we simply cannot afford right now. And I can have, you know, healthcare for my employees, which we do not have right now because healthcare is insane and out of control. On next week's money episode, I'm going to really just explain some basic economic stuff of how do we fix that. In the podcast that I recorded earlier that wasn't very good, I got so far off in the weeds because I tried to explain everything all at once. And so I was like, you need to break these up into two. Bottom line is, Sticker Junkie is doing great. It's a fun, amazing place to work. We're certainly having our challenges. We're certainly having challenges with scale and with growth, but we're making our way through it. And it's because the team is all on the same page. The team understands not only where we're going, but how they personally are going to benefit financially in their actual life as we get to where we are going. And they've seen it happen already when we gave everybody a $2 an hour raise. Everyone on our team does get raises as a team. That is how that works in Sticker Junkie. Once everybody's at $32 an hour, it'll go to a more normal way of like your salary gets reviewed once a year. But right now, the high price of getting by is crazy and costs are increasing at a insane rate. We're all seeing it everywhere. We're seeing the quantity that's in a package gets smaller while the price gets bigger. I got a new bag of dog food. It has got to be 2 or 3 pounds less. It's a visibly smaller package, and the price was higher than the last time I purchased it. And that's everywhere. Everything's more expensive, so everybody has to raise their prices. But the one thing that hasn't been changing is wages. And as everything is more expensive, so it's a really tricksy problem. There are solutions to it, certainly, but it's been a crazy time to be living in right now. And balancing all of that while doing a 500% annual growth, we're going to be fine. Our employees within Sticker Junkie are going to be thriving, quite frankly. And it just has me thinking a lot about money, about how the average American is getting by, etc. And we're going to get into it next week's episode. Until then, I hope life is working out great for you. I'll see you next time on Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire.